What happens if the condition of the world outweighs my fears about seeking remedy with tune? This is a savory question because it has a monopoly over um, the gambling aspect of political editorialism. So what I'm going to do is discuss education and editorial journalism with some gravity. Journalism is under attack in many places around the world where its defenders have been few and far between. Which isn't to say the defenders of journalism don't exist, or even that they're outnumbered. If you look by way of cross comparison at the International Court of Justice, the world's majority supports demands for an end to the insane tragedy being visited on Gaza. Similarly, the world's majority almost certainly weighs in favor of protecting journalists. America is not immune to retaliation against journalists, but fortunate in having special laws to protect editorialists and so on, reporters. These don't always protect them. They certainly don't always explain them. I mean, the fear of losing their job is constant danger now because of the politics of our times. That's a form of threat to journalism. Independent journalism don't make enough to pay for their insurance. News conglomerates pay for insurance policies. Independent journalists are far more at risk. There are also likely to be places where true authenticity of curiosity exists. Now, at the University of Pittsburgh Pitt News office, where I was sort of elbowed around, allowed to write my editorials and make a stand that was partly momentous and partly cock and bull, was an area of former wire dispatch Associated Press services to the campus that was heavily influenced by William F. Buckley, which is to say, stupidly, I saved none of the communications that came on a regular basis to us marked Soviet Union. Those should have been saved and read because of the Cold War line. You don't want people to think that you're up there to make a fool of yourself supporting communism or something. And of course, I made that an issue of lampoon because I could see my reflection in the mirror of derision played back at me by people who say, "Where's your open mind? Where's your courage, son?" But the comparison to Buckley goes further, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Buckley had cute aspects to what he would do. I certainly shared and admired his support for freedom of the press. But often it was simply automatic writing, so to speak, from built-in artificial intelligence of his corrupted nationalism, which continues at the National Review. I mean, you do get cute differences, like the National Review crying Trump's uprising on January 6th after he lost the vote. But a lot of their unflagging devotion to military strength and Cold War trillions of dollars, the tax and spend policies of Republicans who want America to be strong and mesmerizing, to cover up areas of where we are stupid, and who laugh and even humiliate concern about public education in the lands we seek to cultivate good neighbor policies with. And the comparison is that some of my writing was belabored by the habit of mind that I have the right to write, even if it's dumb. I didn't have enough time. There were times when I glowed with pride at what I had to say, but there were times enough where it was awkward, where somebody wincing at reading it could only be expected. And of course, I was dogged by an underworld situation that I didn't know how to resolve. So when you look at the situation that comes to do with what's known as cultural competence, after all, the world ganged up at me under the instigation of Geffen Records, Barack Obama, Youssou N'Dour, Peter Gabriel, Roger Waters, Ringo Starr, a monotonous group of people largely instigated and incited by Adrian Belew, a sidekick of David Bowie and Frank Zappa, on the grounds that people thought I was weak when it came to being rejected. So in looking at a frame reference like that, and the various focuses that come from culturally different expectations in those situations, I'm not going to be able to afford to be James Curry of the Pitt News or Bill Buckley of the National Review. I have to be more serious-minded. And of course, the people who evaluate this as an international text issue will take me to task on the basis of things that I have no conception of or understanding of. When I was young, I was growing up in the smoke as a 6-year-old of people who were engaged in what's known romantically as the 60s. I was 6 in 1966. And this is a significant fact because the things that were being questioned and put into play as trends, political congresses, questions, generational differences that were so profound, there was something known as the generation gap. Don't trust anybody over 30, but do you hold people responsible who are 6? One idiot, I believe it was John Mellencamp, offended me deeply in the director's cut of Woodstock by laughingly putting a 7-year-old on the substance LSD, which I would pray to be banned from all creation. All of that bespeaks the mind of cunning in issues that form bookshelves about the MK Ultra, about the CIA, about the Beatles, about The Doors, about Jim Morrison. And of course, people read what they believe into the situation at hand when it comes to me. And one of those issues was freedom of love. And I was castigated, burnt on the cross, so to speak, of failure to let a woman go. So I was being told the right thing to do is to just let her go. And if she sleeps with somebody else, to respect her. She's not being defiled. And hooligans of the editorial scene characterized me in a defamatory way as being like a Muslim who wanted to subordinate women, who wanted a dutiful plaything, and so on. So it's important to understand when Muslims say they don't want dictators controlling women as servants for the sake of abusing them sexually. They say defilement because it's a code word. It's probably in their scriptures. It's a way of saying we don't want women humiliated. It's out of pride for them. It's not the sophomoric depiction that was being used to make me look like a baby and then paint me as a Muslim. And lo and behold, Jimmy was dressing like a Muslim. Oh, they thought that was so giggle worthy. And oh, lo and behold, Jimmy identified with Islam. Oh, that was so giggle worthy. And he was giving King Crimson a bad name by studying with Syed Hossein Nasr, upon whom be peace. And that was so giggle worthy. And look, he's going to come out of schizophrenia laboratories claiming he's a trauma care patient, where he believes he was kidnapped and tortured as a child, and write about Syrian refugees. Well, let's run that by a Syrian refugee girl who thinks he's a wuss, and so on, which is what you get at UW Dialectical. What I was dealing with was a sexual revolution from the people above me. And women who took care of themselves, and that's liberated women, and saw it as part of the process of being close with their boyfriend and having healthy relationships with their boyfriend, satisfying relations with their boyfriend. That's all. That was normal in America. It may be something you don't like. It may be something that needs to be addressed and revised, editorially encouraged. I don't know what 2025 project is. I don't know that I want to know. I know the Trumpy tune produced a haughty when it came to addressing me. But what's also involved and unbeknownst to me was poison, assassination, abuse of a child on an absolutely abominable corrections guerrilla level from a seedy underworld in the city of Pittsburgh and state of Pennsylvania, governmental in nature. The type of person who would sign a bomb, like Josh Shapiro. Ralph Tive was at my father's deathbed mysteriously. So, was a pornographic organization working out of Carnegie Mellon University called Neva Pornographic. And they put it to me thusly: if you want sex, you have to die for it. And I don't know where that comes from, but I was entitled, in my view, not in their view, not in the view of the FBI, not in the view of the Tacoma police, not in the view of the administration of the schools, but in my view, I was entitled to try to find out what the hell was going on. That's my opinion. Zell spoke as reported when and where he spoke, as I reported him speaking.